This is Gemara Eiruvin, Daf Yomi, Chodesh Tov, in Chodesh. The learning for the month of Elul is sponsored l'schus for Shleima for Shoshana Tova Bas Esther, as well as the schus Aliyas Nishmasa for Esther Rizel Bas Meir, learning of the entire Chabura, Shvia schus for Shleima, and a schus Ili Nishama, as well as, of course, our Chaylim Yudamir Ben Yakir, Manu Pingal Chaim Roman Chayida Chaim and Sayyid Shamshib Ben Ezed Lazar Bas Kandil Basim Bas Chay Sayyid Chaim Saras and Yisrael Ben Mindel Ezra Bas Shevlaya, Tim with Chay Sayyid Sam Bas Naomi Bashav Figo Shir Khanim Zervol and Driva. We're going to pick it up on the bottom of Yud Aleph Amid Beis, 3 lines to the bottom. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Lechayayin. That you said, it says Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah, you need 2 lachis. Again, now we're sort of going to go, it's more fundamentals finally. We had to wait all the way to Daf Yomi, really understand the whole mavui business, what we're needing, the machlekes as we saw in the Mishnah, Beishami, Beis Hillel, 1 lachi, 2 lachis, 1 kaira. Let's see, says the Gemara, Ibaylahu, 2 lines to the bottom, Yud Aleph Amid Beis, Ibaylahu, Rabbi Eliezer lechayayin v'koyer kamar, oidilma lechayayin b'loy koyer kamar. What did Rabbi Eliezer mean? Again, if we look back in the words of the Mishnah, what did Rabbi Eliezer say? Rabbi Eliezer said in the Mishnah, and I'm sorry, just trying to find it. Rabbi Eliezer said in the Mishnah, that's called stalling for time. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, again, one more time. Let's just read the first 2 lines of the Mishnah. Let's remind myself and everyone. Hashem Mavui Beishami said lechi and kaira. Beis said oy lechi oy kaira. Rabbi Eliezer oimer lechayayin. And then we continue in the Mishnah where they're arguing, which will be in the Gemara in a moment. So when Rabbi Eliezer said lechayayin 2 lechis, asked the Gemara, does Rabbi Eliezer mean in addition to the kaira, oidel lechayayin beloy kaira kamar? He means without the kaira. Tashma, the last line. Ma'isa Rabbi Eliezer. There's a story with Rabbi Eliezer. Shalach Eitzel Rabbi Yesi ben Preda. He went to Rabbi Yesi ben Preda Talmida, his Talmud. Moving along to Yud and Aleph Lo'ovlin, that's the name of the place. Umatzu, and he found Sheyeshev b'mavui, that he was sitting in a mavui. She'ein loy el lechi echad. There was only 1 lechi. Again, remember, this is Rabbi Eliezer going. Rabbi Eliezer holds definitely you need 2 things. We're just asking, does he need 2 lechis in addition to the kair, or 2 lechis by itself? I found his Talmud sitting there, and there was only 1 lechi. Amr lei b'ni, also lechi acher. What are you doing? Make a new lechi. I only need 2 lechis. Amr lei, b'chilas asma ni tzarech. Do I need to close off? Do I need to seal the mavui? Amr lei yisa seivim abekach. Yeah, seal it. What do you have to lose? So seemingly, Rabbi Eliezer is telling his Talmud that you need 2 lechis. So now, so far, we don't really have a proof yet. But let's see. Amr Shimon Gamliel, loy nechlu beishami beis Hillel. Al mavui shubachs me'ar ba'amis. Beishami Beis Hillel do not argue about a mavui which is less than 4 amos. Shinus are a klum that you do not need anything. A small mavui, you don't need anything. Al ma nechliku. Where do Beishami Beis Hillel argue? Al racha me'ar ba'amis, when it's wider than 4 amos, vadeser until 10 amos. Shebeishami oimrim lechi v'kaira. Beis Hillel oimrim lechi oikaira. So katani miyas. So that's the end of the brisa. So we're going to first dissect the first half, which is going to prove us the din of Rabbi Eliezer. And then, of course, we're going to come back to this whole Beishami Beis Hillel where they're arguing. Says the Gemara, Katani Miyas, about 10 lines down, what did he respond to his Rabbi? Do I need to close it entirely? So yeah, I'm Rabbi Shlama. So now the Gemara proves. If you're going to tell me that what are we discussing? Lechayayin v'kaira, that you need 2 lechis and a kaira. Mishamachi Aimer, then it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense that he's saying that I have to sois him, I have to close it off, seal it off. 2 lechis and a kaira, it's like sealing it off. Eliyamri, but if you're going to tell me lechayayin below kaira, then what did Rabbi Eliezer mean? He just meant that you need 2 lechis. Malasaismai, what does he mean? I need to seal it. There's no sealing. All you're doing is putting up 2 lechis. So we're bringing a proof from the wording of the brisa that he responded to his Rabbi Eliezer. What? Do I need to close it off? And Rabbi Eliezer said, yes. So we're bringing a proof from there that what did Rabbi Eliezer mean? Not just 2 lechis and a kaira. Says the Gemara, hachi kamar. No. Is that what it means? What he meant to say is, do I need to seal it with lachis? There's different ways of seal something. You could have a hermetic seal, you could have a regular seal, you could just close it. So when he said, the word seal, the word close, we thought it meant the highest level of enclosure. Lachis, 2 lachis, and a kaira. No, says the Gemara, it's not bar, it's not 100%. Rather, it just means I have to close it off with 2 lachis. And that is the end. So we do not have a proof to the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer, that when Rabbi Eliezer says 2 lachis, is that in addition to a kaira or not? Amar Mar, the Gemara continues. Amar of Shimon Gamliel, taught us in the aforementioned brisa, that Beishami Beis Hillel, again, Beishami Beis Hillel, the machlekes, whether you need lechi v'kaira, a vertical and a horizontal beam, or lechi or kaira, as we'll see in a moment. Says the Gemara, they don't argue on a mavui which is less than 4 amos. Sheinu tzara klum, that doesn't need anything. So that is what Rav Shimon Gamliel said, that if the mavui is less than 4 amas, you don't need to put any lechi, any kaira, you don't need anything. Asks the Gemara, but we learned Misham Yishmael Amr Talmud Echad. The Yishmael said the name of the Talmud Lifnei Rav Akiva. Lo nechlu beis Shammai beis Hillel shu pachul me'arba amas shu niter oy belechi oy bekaira. Seemingly, it's less than 4 amos. And what did Rabbi Yishmael tell his Talmud? He told him that you need either a lechi or a kaira, even though it's very small. So why are you telling me that when it's less than 4 amos, you need anything? Seemingly, when it's less than 4 amos, everyone agrees you need something. This is what it means. Again, we're holding about, 15 lines, about 20 lines down already. First one line is Ashi. Amar Rav Ashi, Hachi Kamar. This is what it means. Anyone who's looking at the page in front of them, you'll see a little circle, hopefully blinking on the word Ashi. Amar Rav Ashi, Hachi Kamar. What did Rabbi Yishmael mean? He meant you don't need a lechi and a kaira like Beishamai. And you don't need 2 lechis like Rav Eliezer. He just meant that you need something. So we're retranslating the original Braisa. When Rabbi Shmuel taught us, and when Shmuel taught us that you need nothing, he didn't mean you need nothing, that it's maybe less than 4 amos, you put nothing there. He meant you don't need as much as Bishami, Beis Hillel, and Rabbi Eliezer normally require. Rather, any lechi or a kaira will suffice. Says the Gemara, Vikama. And how big is this mavui that we're talking about? Amarav Achli v'tim Rav Yechiel ad arba until 4 tfachim. Amarav Shishas, Amarav Yirmiyah Barab, Amarav. I'm sorry. Before we see that, there's a very important Rashi over here. That Rashi says. Let's just find the Rashi for a moment. Rashi says ad arba all the way up top. The last line of the wide lines. Rashi says v'kama. Let's everyone look up there for a moment. 3 lines into the wide lines. V'kama. Because what did the Gemara just say a moment ago? The Gemara just told us that even when it's less than 4 amos, it's not that you need nothing, you need something, either a lechi or a kli or something minimal. So now the Gemara is asking, Vikama, until how small do you need something? Answers the Gemara, Ad arba tfachim. That you need is something. Now, it's just important to point out that when it's so small, let's continue Rashi. You don't need anything. The Rishonim here speak out that really we're talking about just the doorway. We're not talking about the entire mavui, and actually the mavui might actually get a little bit wider as it goes in. We're discussing the doorway over here because if the entire mavui was less than 4 tfachim, or 4 tfachim I should say, then it's a makom p'tur, then of course you wouldn't need anything. So what's going on over here is that the doorway is 4 tfachim, and then it could jut out a bit more. That's the Gemara's question, that until how small you're going to need something, until 4 tfachim. So back into the Gemara. The Kama. So Rav Achli taught us, V'tim Rav Yechiel Abba, Amar Rav Shishas, Amar Rav Yirmiyah Barabba, Amar Rav Moedim Chacham Rav Eliezer, around 10 lines further wide lines, the Chachamim agreed to Rav Eliezer. Again, Rav Eliezer was the opinion that held you need more. You need to have 2 lechis. Says the Gemara, the Chacham agreed to Rav Eliezer b'pasi chatzir, with the boards of a chatzir. And again, we already pointed out, it's really, the Taisis is over here. If anyone wants to see, all the way up top over here, the top Taisis is where Taisis points out, b'pasi chatzir, Taisis asks, what are you talking about? Why are you saying lechi or a pasi seemingly they're the same thing? And Taisis says, it's really in a level, lav dafka, because we're going to see in the Gemara today, the word pas does connote a bit of a wider area, but it's the same thing. They're both boards, both beams, so that's why the words are a bit interchangeable. So again, with the boards of the chatzir, they agree to Rav Eliezer. Rav Nachman Amar halacha Rav Eliezer b'asei chatzir. The halacha is like Rav Eliezer by the boards of the chatzir. Again, seemingly what's going on over here is we're saying that when it comes to a chatzir, you need more than just 1 lechi. You're going to need 2 things, 2 lechis, 2 boards, and we'll see what that means. Amar Rav Nachman Yitzchak man moedim. What does it mean that the Chachamim reminded Rav Eliezer by the Pasei Chatzir? Says the Gemara, Rebbe, it's the Shita of Rebbe. Halacha michlal de pligi. So then the Gemara said that the halacha is like Rav Eliezer. That shows us that there's someone that's arguing on Rav Eliezer. Man polig alei de Rav Eliezer. Man polig de Rav Eliezer. Rabbanan titanya. So now the Gemara is just trying to figure out. It was very nameless. It was very nameless, anonymous. That's probably more English. Says the Gemara, who are these opinions? The Tanya. Now we're going to learn. We're now going from Mavui into Chatzar. Very important, because as we'll see at the end of today, the Gemara is going to have big differentiations between Mavui and Chatzar, and we have already seen certain differentiations. Says the Gemara, the Tanya. Chatzar and Italish bepas echad. And this brisa we have seen as well already. The Tanakama says the Shita the Rabbanan, you have a Chatzar. You have a chatzar, a three-walled chatzar. Pashtus is what it's talking about. How do you permit carrying inside this chatzar? Bipas echad, one beam. Rabbi Omer bishnei pasim, two beams. Amar Ravasi, Amar Rav Yochanan, chatzar shlicha shnei pasim, like the opinion of Rabbi. Amar Rav Zir Ravasi, mi Amar Rav Yochanan hachi. Did Rav Yochanan really say what you just said, that you need two beams? Va'atu da'amim b'shed Rav Yochanan, but you told us in the name of Rav Yochanan, the first white line, pasei chatzar, shlicha sheiba and dalit, that the pass of the chatzar needs to be 4 tfachim. So 4 tfachim. So you taught us to be 4 tfachim. And you're now telling me that you need to have 2 of them. This should sound familiar going back 2-3 days. And if you're going to tell me you need 4 on one side of the chatzar, 4 on the other side of the chatzar, V'atani Rav Ada bar Avimi, coming to Rav Yechlan, V'amila coming to Rav Chanina bar Papi, Ketana be'eser, Ugedoyla b'achas esrei. The price that we spoke about extensively, that we have a small chatzar opening into a larger chatzar. How big is the small chatzar? How big is the large chatzar? So that was the case that we said, that we explained, one is 10 amos, one is 11 amos. The large chatzar is an amma larger. If it's an amage larger, what does that mean? That means there's maximum 3 tfachim on either side, not 4 tfachim on either side. So how are you telling me, how do we reconcile the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan? On one hand, he taught me that he holds you need 2 boards. On the other hand, Rabbi Yochanan said you need 4 tfachim. But if it's 10 and 11 amos, there's only 6 tfachim, not 8 tfachim. Says the Gemara, Kisal Grav Zera miyamei, when Zera went up from the ocean, Parshi explained, Beruach achas barba, meaning, we thought that both statements are in all cases. The Gemara is now explaining, no. Each statement of Rabbi Yochanan could be used in its own case. Beruach achas, when there's only a board on one side, that's when Rabbi Yochanan taught us barba. That's when he taught us that you need to have 4 tfachim for that board. Mishtei ruchais, but when you have a board on both ends, mashu lekan, then you need a little bit on either side. That is how the Gemara is reconciling the opinion of Rabbi Yochanan. So let's just keep track over here. So what did Rabbi Yochanan hold? Rabbi Yochanan taught us that you need to have a board of 4 tfachim to permit carrying inside the chatzar, again on the 4th wall. Rabbi Yochanan taught us that you need to have 2 boards. Explains the Gemara, when it's 4 tfachim, you need 1 board. When it's 2 boards, it suffices with even a little small board on either side. Asks the Gemara, and obviously a little small board is similar to a lechi. But we learned that this is the opinion of Rebbe, and Rebbe holds like Rabbi Yosi, which means that the minimum width is 3 tfachim. So how are you telling me that it works with even a mashu, even a little bit of a tefach? That seemingly Rebbe held like Rabbi Yosi, that the board has to be at least 3 tfachim wide. Amar Rav Yosi, Amar Rav Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Chatzar nitares b'pasa echad. The chatzar is mutter with 1 pass. Did Shmuel really say this? Sorry, that wasn't a question. Let's just go back for a minute. I'm sorry. But the Tani Avimi, and Avimi learned. Vadetani Abba Bar Avimi Rebbe v'Sabla Rav Yosi. I'm sorry, that's a separate answer. That brisa. I'm sorry, let's say that again. The brisa that said 10 amos into 11 amos, which we were asking as a question on Rav Yochanan, because we said Rav Yochanan says 4 tfachim, but if there's only 1 extra amma, if there's only 6 tfachim, how's that going to work? The Gemara is explaining that brisa was Rebbe, and Rebbe holds like Rabbi Yosi. This is what we actually spoke about 2-3 dafs ago. Rebbe holds like Rabbi Yosi that 3 tfachim on either side suffices, and that's not a kasha on Rabbi Yochanan. That's the end of that brisa. The Gemara now continues 6 lines into the wide lines. Rabbi Yosi, Rabbi Yehuda, Shmuel, chatzar nitares b'as echad. He held Shmuel 1 board is enough to matter the chatzar. Amar Abaye, Rabbi Yosef. So Abaye says back to Rabbi Yosef, Miyam Shmuel Achi. Does Shmuel really say that? Amar le Shmuel Rav Chanina. Don't do a story only if you have the majority of the wall, majority of the wall, or 2 walls. So why are you telling me it's enough to have either? Why are you telling me that Shmuel is of the opinion that Chatzar nitares b'pas echad with 1 board? We see clearly that Shmuel held you need to have the majority of the wall or 2 boards. Amarle, Vanoli Yadana, I don't know. There was a story, but there Usa in the town of the shepherds. L'shoyin hayam anichnas l'chatzar. Here we go. There's an ocean that's entering into the chatzar have. And they came in front of Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Yehuda only required one board. Again, what's the case over here? Here you have a beautiful ocean that's opening into a chatzar. Here, first of all, you also can see the chatzar, this three-walled chatzar, and the ocean is opening into the chatzar. So the question is, in this case, here, and this is what happened, he only said, what do you need? You need to have one pass, you need to have one board. Don't worry about the shirim tanamis, that's going to be for later on. You see, for here, you only need to have one board. So that's the Gemara's question. So the Gemara says that was the case. So I don't know why you're asking me a question on Shmuel. He held two boards, one board. I don't know. There was a story with this ocean going in, and all he required is one board. So he responded, the story was with an ocean. That's not a question. There were special kulas, 8 lines before the very wide lines. There were special kulas that Chazal gave by water. Is a chitza tluya, a hanging mechitza, does it work by a chorba, by a desolate area? And he responded, and only works by water. This should sound familiar. We heard this in the Gemara on Shabbos. It's a special kula by water. What's a mechitza tliya? It's a mechitza tliya basically of 10 tefachim tall, and it's over the water, and a special kula that they allow these 10 tefachim walls, even though they're suspended in midair, to be viewed as if they go all the way down, and therefore to allow people to draw water onto their into their house on Shabbos. Here's another picture of mechitza tliya, and as you see people, they're drawing water through these hanging mechitzas, which was a special kula by a water. So says the Gemara, why are you asking me a question about water? Water had special dinim. So now the Gemara says, fine. So you explained to me what the case was. But the Gemara now says, but at the end of the day, we have a question. We call Makam Kasha. We're stuck. We have a steer in Shmuel. On one hand, Shmuel said you need to have one board. On the other hand, you're saying that you need to have multiple boards. 4 lines before the white lines. Miruch achas barba, similar to what we said by Rabbi Yochanan. B'shei ruchas mashu likan mashu likan. No question. When it's on one side, 4 tefachim. When it's on either side, then you need to have a little bit. Amar Papa, ikash ali akash. I'll tell you what the question is. He said, don't do a story only if you have the majority of the wall or 2 boards. Lamli roiv daifen. Why do you need to have a roiv, a majority of the wall? V'pas arba sagi should be enough. It's 4 tefachim. Maybe you'll tell me you were circumstantial. My roiv daifen. What does it mean that's the majority of the wall? V'daifen shiva. A wall of 7 tefachim, and that's when he said you need to have 4 tefach in order to be majority. Tebarba avli roiv daifen. Says Gemara, 1 second. Lamali arba b'shleisha mashu sagi. Once it's 3 and a little bit, that should be enough. Why? Damar Rav Achli v'temer Rav Yechiel ad arba until 4. Is when you need, this is what we just saw a few moments ago, until 4 is when you need to permit something. So once there would be a wall a little bit more than 3, what would the rest of the opening be? The rest of the opening would be 4, less than 4. Once it's less than 4, you don't need anything. So why did you tell me you need to have the majority of the wall? Says the Gemara, the first differentiation we're seeing, one is a chatzar, one is a mavui, and they have different dinim. That's a machlekes tanayim, whether when you have an opening into your mavui of 4 tefachim, whether you're going to need something like Rav Achli said, is a machlekes tanayim. Tana Rabbana, 3 lines to the bottom. We're going to go a little bit more into this case that we just spoke about a moment ago with the ocean entering into the chatzar. You're not allowed to fill from it on Shabbos. You're not allowed to, again, here's your L'Shain Yam that's going into your Chatzar. You're not allowed to draw water from this water on Shabbos because the water is a different Rishus. Water is different Rishus. Says the Gemara, Hatel Tule. Sorry, I skipped. Again, unless there is a mechiza of 10 tefachim. Mechiza of 10 tefachim, as you see over here, like over here, this wall, the water eroded away. This is one way of making the mechiza 10 tefachim. There are other ways as well. As we'll see, this is how it's going to work. Says the Gemara, Im yesh mechiza yud tefachim. What are we talking about? Shepir tzasai bi yoiser me'eser. That's only when, and that was the picture that we showed before, when the pirza, when the opening in the wall is more than 10 amais, that's when you're not going to be allowed to carry from the wall. Aval asara in sar club. But if it's less than 10, you don't need anything. So now the Gemara is medayik this brisa. Memale who's like malinon. Seemingly you're only not allowed to fill up, take the actual water. But you're going to be allowed to carry inside the chatzar. But the chatzar is open to an area that is also, and we learned already that anytime you have one rishus that opens into a separate rishus, then you're not allowed to carry in this separate rishus, then that aser is carrying in this rishus as well. So in this case, when we have the chatzar opening up into this water, if you can't carry in the water, you shouldn't be allowed to carry in the chatzar either. So even if it's less than 10 amos, says the Gemara, moving on to Yud and Beis, what are we talking about over here? We're talking about a case with the gedudi. We had this word before, as you see in the top Rashi, that there is a little bit, just the water is covering it up. As you see over here, there is a wall there. Just the water is covering over the wall, and therefore it really is a mechitza. You just can't see it. And that's the reason why you'd be allowed to carry inside the chatzar. Amar Rav Yehuda, second line, you'd base with base. Amar Rav Yehuda. You're allowed to, it matters with the lechi. So all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it says Rav Yehuda, we know what's a sheet of mevoy, something that's going to come up many times, is that you're not allowed to carry from two rishus yachids one to another, and as well within a mavui you're not allowed to carry unless you make a sheet of mevuais, unless all the people in the mavui, similarly to all the people in the chatzar, have to get together. Each one gives a few pennies, few dollars, and they buy a roll, they buy a bottle of wine. Then it's considered that they all have part rishus in each other. Then they're allowed to carry, similar by the chatzar, so too by the mavui. Says Rav Yehuda, mavui that you didn't do that. If you put a balachi there, then if you throw into it, chayiv. You're chayiv. If you're in Rishus Rabbim and you throw into the mavui. So now we're going to learn what is a mavui. We've been saying until now that a mavui midaraisa is a Rishus HaYachid. Midarabana, they require this lechi or this kaira. So now we're going to learn exactly where and when that applies. So says Rav Yehuda, you have this mavui. First he says you didn't make a shitov, and then he says if it has a lechi and you throw into your chayiv, meaning it's a daraisa, meaning that if you put up a lechi, it makes this mavui into a Rishus HaYachid. Seemingly the lechi is like a mechitza, it's like a fourth wall, and now the mavui is just a yachid. So if you throw Rishus Rabbim into the mavui, you're chayiv. Says the Gemara, but if you permit it with a kaira, then potter. Then if you throw it into your potter, seemingly what's going on over here? Seemingly a kaira is a hacker, and therefore the kaira is not considered a fourth wall, and therefore if you throw into it, it's only an iser dirabanan. So Matzler Rav Sheshes, Taima, what's going on over here? If you're going to tell me if you made a sheet of voice, everyone get together and bought this bottle of wine, this loaf of bread, then even if you mattered it with a kair with a beam, you're going to be chayiv, meaning to make it into just a yachid. What's going on over here? Does this kikar, does the bread make it actually into a different shus? No, it doesn't. That just allows you to carry midrabanan. You have many chateiros, or you have a mavi that's not foolish, it's a three-sided mavi. Regardless, it's chayiv. It has nothing to do with whether you made a sheet of mevois or not. Says the Gemara, you're right. Let's change it around. Mavi that you're not able to make a sheet of, meaning a mavi that's a two-walled mavi. Two-walled mavi. As you see, Rashi says right here directly across, it's mafulash. It's not royal sheet. If it's mafulish, it's open on both ends. It only has two walls. So in this case, now Rav Yehuda is teaching me a din. Hakshiru belachi. If you put a belachi, that's chayiv. Now Rav Yehuda is teaching me a din that there's two real walls. You put a belachi. That lachi is like a mechit, says a din of a third wall. Rav Yehuda teach me that once you have a din of a third wall, midaraisa to a yachid. If you throw into it, it's a daraisa. Hakshiru bekaira, then a potter. Why? Because a kaira is like a hacker, doesn't have a third wall. It's still not going to be a yachid midaraisa. Therefore, you throw into it, it's only going to be an iser derabanan. Now the Gemara speaks out. We just said Alma. What do we see? Because we see that the lechi is a mechitza, and therefore it's considered making a third wall. Therefore, if you throw into it from just rabbim, it's an isidaraisa, and the kaira is a hacker, and therefore if you throw into it, it's only an isidarabanan. However, both of them are hacker, and again, this is really fundamental. Really, all the way back from that base, we've kept on saying, and the Gemara Gimel and Beis also spoke about it. We kept on saying that a lechi and a kaira is a mechitza. We kept on pointing out that Allah Lamaisa, we say it's a hacker. Now the Gemara says it's a machlokes whether the lechi is a mechitza and the kair is a hacker, or are they both a hacker? So now the Gemara is going to have a few questions on Rava who just said that they're both a hecker. You throw into a mav. So what do we see? If it has a lechi, it's in a deraisa. Seemingly the lechi makes up the third or the third wall or fourth wall. But we see the lechi is a wall. So how do you Rava say that the lechi is only a hecker? If it only doesn't need a lechi, meaning if it only needs a lechi, it has three walls. Lechi v'davar acher, if it has two walls, therefore says Rava needs a lechi and something else, then you're going to be potter. So Rava deflects the question, it still could be a hecker. Ace Gemara is another question. Yes, okay, this should sound familiar. Someone who has two houses on either side of Rishos Tarabim, you make a beam on either side and then you let it carry. Or you make a horizontal beam and then you let it carry. Then you let it carry. So what do the Chacham respond? We've had this brayso many a time. No, in Mar Rishos Rabim you can't make Rishos Rabim like that. But seemingly everyone is agreeing, this is the Gemara's question, that the Lechi or the Kaira is a mechitza. Just we're arguing if this is going to allow you to carry. But everyone's seemingly agreeing it's going to be at some level of wall. Certainly the sheet of Rav Yehuda, maybe even the Rabbanan. Taisus over here gets involved. That seemingly we could have asked this as a question on the other sheets as well. But either way, it's a question on Rav, because we see at some level it's a mechitza. We'll quickly show the picture. The picture we've seen many times. You have two houses on either side, two walls, and we're saying over here that if you have a lechi on either side, then you're going to be permitted to carry. Going to be permitted to carry in here, says the Gemara, Hasam Kasav Rav Yehuda, Shtei Mechitzas Daraisa. When did Rav Yehuda say that the Lech of the Kaira makes it a third wall and it allows you to carry? It's because Rav Yehuda holds two walls is a din daraisa. Two walls makes it a yachid. And now he's just allowing you on a derabbanan level, so it's not a right, it's a mechitza. Rav Yehuda Marav. So now that's the end of that discussion, and Rava deflected all his proofs. Again, Rava holds them both a hecker, and the first two opinion argues whether the kaira is a hecker and the lechi is a mechitza. Now the Gemara, for a few moments as we conclude, is going to discuss what is the differences between a mavui and a chatzar. We've to the first 10 or 11 blot we're discussing a mavui, and then today we started talking about a chatzar. Then we said a chatzar needs a 4 tefach beat wall, maybe it needs 2 walls of a little bit. What's the difference? Mavui. What's a mavui? Length is like the width, a square. It does not work with a lechin a little bit. Why not? Seemingly, because that has the din of a chatzar, and then it's going to need either 2 little bits or 4. Same thing. If the length is the width, if it's a square, you can't just put up a kaira, you can't just put up a horizontal beam. Seemingly, you're going to need more. How wonderful is this statement of these elders? Since it's a square, it's a chatzar. And we know chatzar doesn't work with just the vertical beam or just the horizontal beam. It needs either 2 of them or something larger. Elo bipas arba. Amar Rav Zira comes along Rav Zira and he says, I have the following question. Says Rav Zira, what's going on? Why are you telling me that you need to have 4? Let the lechi be like a pas mashu. And says Rav Zira, maybe that should be enough. Says the Gemara, well, we know from Avad Aleph, and the Rishonim here discuss, because it was Rav Zira himself, which we discussed in Avad Aleph, meant if it's 1, it's 4, if it's 2, then it could be a mashu. Rav Nachman Aktina, and we have the following tradition. What's a mavi that permits the lechi or kaira? This is obviously the inverse of what we just said a moment ago. A moment ago we said that when the arka is like the rachvay to square, it's not a mavi. He says, what's yes a mavi? When the length is more than the width. Ubat, and now another statement which we had earlier, we had in Gemara Shabbos as well. Ubat and has to also have houses, multiples, and chaseris, multiples, open into the mavi. And what is a chatzar? That does not permit with the lechi or kaira. Has to be a square. And that is a chatzar. A square, a lechi is a rectangle, also called. Says the Gemara, a chatzar mivaras in agula live. Chatzar can be a circle. Hachi kamar yeser al rachbay. If it's longer, havle mavi or mavi lechi v'kaira sagya. That's enough. V'loy havle chatzar, meaning it could be a circle. It just has to be the same dimensions. Whereas a mavi would be longer. The kama. So for Shmuel Meimar Adika Pishnayim, Shmuel held has to be double the length, a real rectangle to be a mavi barachva, double the width. No, as long as it's a drop longer, that's going to be a mavi. So we learned here very important dinim. A chatzar is a square or a circle, length and width are equal. A mavi, the length is longer than the width. We'll pick it up.